spotted the gully before anyone else did. The cloudburst at sunset had fed a small trackside rivulet that flowed around a flank of skin, water-lacquered in the new moonlight. An island, she feared, of human flesh. I ought to turn aside before the others notice, she thought. How much more can they take? There is nothing I can do for that human soul. The digging of another trench would require an hour minimum. An additional few moments for prayers. The project would only further agitate these clients as they obsess about their own precious mortality. Upon the knee of the horizon balanced the head of a jackal moon, so called because, once every generation or so, a smear of celestial flotsam converged behind the crescent moon of early autumn. The impact was creepy, a look of a brow and a snout. As the moon rounded out over a period of weeks, the starveling would turn into a successful hunter, its cheeks bulging. Always a fearsome sight, the jackal moon tonight spooked Oatsy Manglehand further. Don't stop for this next casualty. Get through the disappointments. Deliver these paying customers to the gates of the Emerald City. But she resisted, giving in to superstition. Be scared of the real jackals, she reminded herself, not frets and nocturnal portents. In any case, the light of the constellation alleviated some of the color blindness that sets in at night. The body was pale, almost luminous. Oatsy might divert the grass trail train and give the corpse a wide berth before anyone else noticed it, but the slope of the person's shoulders, the unnatural twist of legs, the jackal moon made her read the figure too well, as too clearly human, for her to be able to turn aside. "Nub," she barked to her second. "Rein in! We'll pull into flank formation up that rise. There's another fatality. There in the runoff." Cries of alarm as the news passed back, and another mutter of mutiny. Why should they stop? Were they to bear witness to every fresh atrocity? Oatsy didn't listen. She yanked the reins of her team of horses to halt them, and she lowered herself gingerly. She stumped, her hand on her sore hip, until she stood a few feet over the body. Face down and genitals hidden, he appeared to have been a young man. A few scraps of fabric were still knotted about his waist, and a boot some yards distant, but he was otherwise naked, and no sign of his clothes. Curious. No evidence of the assassins? Neither had there been about the bodies of the Maunts, but that was on rockier ground, in a drier hour. Oatsy couldn't see any sign of scuffle here, and in the mud of the gulch one might have expected something. The body wasn't bloody, nor decayed yet. The murder was recent. Perhaps this evening. Perhaps only an hour ago. "Nub, let's heave him up and see if they've taken his face," she said. "No blood," said Nub. "Blood may have run off in that cloudburst. Steel yourself now." They got on either side of the body and bit their lips. She looked at Nub, meaning, "It's only the next thing. It's not the last thing. Let's get through this, fellow." She jerked her head in the direction of the hoist. 1, 2, heave. They got him up. His head had fallen into a natural scoop in the stone, a few inches higher than where the rain had pooled. His face was intact, more or less. That is to say, it was still there, though shattered. "How did he get here?" said Nub. "And why didn't they scrape him?" Oatsy just shook her head. She settled on her haunches. Her travelers had come forward, and were congregating on the rise behind her. She could hear them rustling. She suspected that they had gathered stones, and were ready to kill her if she insisted on a burial. The jackal moon rose a few notches higher, as if trying to see into the gully. The prurience of the heavens. "We're not going to dig another grave?" That from her noisiest client, a wealthy trader from the northern Vincas. "Not his, Oatsy Manglehand, and not yours either. We're not doing it. We leave him unburied and alone, or we leave him unburied with your corpse for company." "We don't need to do either," said Oatsy. She sighed. "Poor, poor soul, whoever he is. He needs no grave. He isn't dead yet." 2. In time, when the travelers had rejoined their cronies and relatives in the Emerald City, in salons, in public houses, in taverns of exchange, they heard more chatter about the hostilities they had managed to sidestep. Rumor flourished. 40, 60, 100 deaths resulting from the skirmishes between the Skro and the Unamata. Barbarians, a lot of them. They deserve to kill off each other, but not us. Rumor could be wrong, of course, but it couldn't be uninteresting. 200 dead, twice that. Mass graves, and they would be found any day. But the luxury of safety came later. First, the Grass Trail train still had to resume its snail's progress through the disappointments. Geographical variety, the hills, mountains, dales and forests that made the rest of Oz so memorable, such a heartland, was in short supply here. Just flats, shales, more flats, gray as pulped newspapers. The prospect was dispiriting, and the notion of having to carry an invalid with them didn't improve matters. Oatsy Manglehand's clients had paid good, hard cash for her service. Some originating from as far away as Ugabu, and others having joined the group along the eastern foothills of the Great Kells. They considered their own safe travel should be Oatsy's sole concern. Oatsy reminded them that they didn't have a vote. She'd never represented that her clients would travel unencumbered by waifs and strays. Indeed, by terms of their contracts, she was free of liability should any of the travelers be murdered on the trail by a fellow passenger, a stowaway, a hitchhiker, a native. Oatsy had promised to lead the caravan as safely as she could, relying on her knowledge of the terrain and its populations. That was it. Period. To that end, she'd chosen a new route, intended to avoid the current hot spots of intertribal conflict, and so far so good. Right? The invalid was loaded aboard. Despite her bravado, Oatsy was indeed sensitive to her client's fears, and, in a way, she was glad to have the unconscious young man with them. It distracted the travelers, while he remained oblivious of their resentment. She bedded him in the third carriage back, requisitioning from her clients the warmest of winter robes. She mounted him into a cocoon. There he languished, day and night, not so much fevered as feverless, an equally worrying condition. After a day of trying, Nub was able to spoon a few tips of brandy between the lad's lips, and Oatsy fancied she saw his muscles relax in a new way. She couldn't be certain of this. She was no doctor. Of one thing she was sure, though. With his arrival, the mood of the Grass Trail train changed. Why? Perhaps this. If the poor creature had been beaten to within an inch of his life, and lived, there might be hope for all of them. Think about it. His face hadn't been scraped. People relaxed. The nasal buzz of prayers around the supper campfire gave way to a quieter mood. Song returned in time. We'll make it. We deserve to. The privilege of life has been accorded us. See? We've been saved. Must be for a reason. Spine straightened. Eyes grew bright and moist in a rapture of gratitude at the plan of the unnamed god. Another week, and they had rounded the landmark rocks that marked their U-turn north, and they left behind them, in the disappointments, the greatest threat of ambush. In this month of summer's end,